So it's great that you're here today. I hope you put that message back into India. You're as networked as I am, so I think we can look forward to that. And I really look forward to the dialogue we have with you here, and welcome you at a time which is most historic in the Australia-India relationship, the free trade agreement, the need to move forward. And can I share that in my other hat, newly appointed hat as the Chancellor of Torrens University Think Group, I also want to see the links, closer links between Australia and India in higher education and vocational education. So on that note, Nick, if you didn't mind that bit of promo for another organisation, I'll leave it to you.
So, coming to today's subject, let me put it this way, that every country in the world and the world as a whole is facing two important dichotomies, or rather two important challenges, as I may say that. The first is, of course, the climate change, the climate challenge. I mean, it was a threat maybe a decade or decade and a half ago. Today it is a reality. We are seeing this day in and day out. Many parts of the world are facing extreme climate conditions. It has become quite regular. You had a flood some time back. We had floods. I mean, floods which are supposed to be once in 500 years floods are happening every year. So that is the kind of situation we are witnessing. So I think something has gone wrong in the climate. And people do blame these climatic conditions to global warming. And global warming, unfortunately, is connected deeply with emissions of greenhouse gases. In the greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide has a share of 60% plus. So, and that is emitted from burning of fossil fuels. So fossil fuel burning is naturally has come under attack. And it's rightly so. I mean, if we have to meet this climate challenge. I mean, we can't say we'll not meet it, because then we are living an unsustainable world for the next generation. So that cannot happen. So we have to meet this, and therefore fossil burning has to be phased out. There is no doubt about that. I think this was said loud and clear in COP26 and everywhere. Along with this, there is another challenge. I mean, we cannot forget that as well, which is providing energy security to every country, every economy. Every country has growing energy needs, and that has to be met. We can't say no to that as well. In that context, the situation is quite different between country to country. If you look at, let us say, advanced countries, there the situation is, there is a growth. Even advanced countries, the energy requirement is growing, because the energy requirement is connected with GDP growth. If there is a GDP growth, energy requirement will grow. Now, but there, because the growth in advanced countries is somewhat less than the developing countries, so energy requirement increase is also less. That has to be handled. That is one part. So in most cases where we are trying to phase out fossil fuel with renewable, addition of renewable in an advanced country will lead to automatic somewhat phase down of fossil fuel. But in countries like India, where the requirement has to grow much faster, because we are, for example, today India consumes, a per capita consumption of electricity is just about 1,200 units. You are at 9,800. China is at 5,000. World average is 3,000. So if we have to develop, and we have to develop, there is no two ways to that. If Australia becomes completely renewable, but there are large countries like India and China which are not renewable, it doesn't help the environment. So that is what is the central thing. I mean, how does the world tackle the problem? See, for example, one aspect where India depends upon the Western countries is for technology. Technology for carbon capture and utilization, or carbon capture and sequestration. We don't have technology. We don't have money to invest in those technologies. But if we have cost-effective technologies, I think we can make our power stations much benign in terms of emission. And that is where the $100 billion per year investment, etc., is being talked about. Where is that investment? So I think if the advanced countries can come together and make that technology happen, cost-effective technology for CCUS or CCU happen, and that is given to countries like India, and sort of you can create a little bit of a pressure. Every year there is a COP, So in one of the COPs, you can take that as an agenda and create a pressure that way we are giving you the technology, please implement in every power station. That will mean a real breakthrough. I mean, that will mean something definite effort on the part of the advanced countries to help reduce emission on a global scale. See, so I think this is the way it has to be put. This is where I think if you have to comprehend the issues properly, one has to become a global citizen. You cannot become an American citizen, Australian citizen, or UK citizen to understand environmental issues. Because then you will start looking at 25% of population of a country like India doesn't have access to power. So that's a problem. A global citizen will recognize that as a problem.